First, I do want to say we work with a lot of different clients, right? So we've worked with space agencies, a multitude of state agencies, the military, all branches, banks, large and small, financial, insurance organizations, airlines, building supply, restaurants. So a broad spectrum.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trekking. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Ed Lance from nTier Training. And we'll be diving into his story a bit today, as well as what it is his company does. And then, as always, some engaging insights into the technology industry. So stick around for this one. But without further ado, Ed, thanks for hopping on.
It's great to be here. Thank you, Trek, for the invitation.
Oh, lovely. Ed, I think I would like to start by just asking you, where does this company name nTier, where does that come from?
Yeah, that's a funny one. It's a little bit old. So Sun Microsystems, created Java, and I was a Java developer in the beginning when I started out. And Sun had a slogan. As much as I love Sun, I didn't love their slogan. It was "The network is the enterprise." And every time I saw it, I just kind of had a visceral reaction inside. I'm like, no, the people are the enterprise, right?
Yeah.
Not the network. So as we got into the training business, we really wanted to emphasize that it's about the people.
Excellent. Uh, if you don't mind, then just to latch on that, and just give us a bit about your background, and what's the reason why you got into this, in this industry.
Yeah, that's a great story, actually. So my degree is in management, and then I found and fell in love with programming in the 90s. Worked as a developer in the corporate world for a number of years, and then got an opportunity to do consulting, and started doing some training, and just really fell in love with it. And I was fortunate enough to have some great mentors and to be involved with the Agile movement in the very early days. And in 2006, I started nTier training, focusing on software craftsmanship. And I'll talk a little more about that later. But it started out with a bang. We doubled every year for the first 4 years.
Oh
And then
wow.
in recent years, I've become obsessed with the potential of AI. Uh, I'm really excited about it. Can't get enough. And we pivoted our mission statement to reflect that. So now the focus of nTier is to empower growth through AI, agile ways of working, and talent development.
Excellent. Uh, Tell me, Ed, you know, you've been around the block, you've been doing this for quite some time. I think you mentioned now 2006, right?
Right.
Since you started out with this specific business. Uh, on your based on your expertise, what like would you say are the current market trends that you've been picking up lately? What ways are the winds blowing?
Well, specifically, I'll first say generally AI is the buzz, right? And
It's the
we'll talk about.
buzz.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
everybody wants to know about AI. Everybody's trying to do it, but not haven't, quite figured it out. So I think that's a big one. And then from a training perspective, specifically, what we're seeing is that the pendulum have swung after COVID to where, it swung during COVID, where everyone really took training online. Before that, 90% of our business used to be in the customer's classroom, right? And now it's obviously went the other direction. And I think it swung a little bit too much. So the trend we're seeing is that people think they can learn amazing things through e-learning and books and real quick, YouTube things, which are great sources, by the way. I love them. I use them myself. But I think we've forgotten that learning a language is tough, and getting into it in an immersive way is going to take a little more than a 20-minute YouTube. So those are the big ones we're seeing right
Those are
now.
the big ones.
Yeah.
Uh, Having said that, what's your take on the current market sentiment?
I beg your pardon, the current.
Oh, the current market sentiment. What's your take on that?
Uh, well, I think specifically, I think we're going to see more demand, not less. So I see a lot of layoffs like everybody else. They're
Yeah.
scary, not fun to watch. But I like to say it this way. AI is scaring everyone. People are saying don't become a developer. And I say, you know what? We had shovels and we got steam shovels, right? We didn't stop
Yeah.
digging dirt. We just dug a lot more. And I think that's what people don't realize is as AI comes on board, we are going to do bigger, harder, more amazing things, and we're going to need more developers, more sophisticated developers to do that work. So I think from a marketing, you know, state, I think we're going to see a big growth in the need for developers. Now, we like to say AI is not going to take your job, but someone who understands AI might, right?
Mm.
So I think it is really important to realize that you're going to have to get better at your craft.
Yeah, that's a good point you're making. And I think this is maybe a good time for, if you don't mind, if you can elaborate on, what is it that your company does?
Yeah, so I think the biggest problem we're solving is that untrained technical teams are costing companies millions. And in time, in waste, in quality, and in our experience, software projects and products really don't even track true cost of ownership. We're one of the few disciplines that gets away without saying it. I've asked this question on 3 continents to hundreds and hundreds of students, hey, tell me the project you worked on and tell me the total cost of ownership, including all the bug fixes and everything. And the room goes silent almost every time. So,
Mm.
so how do you solve that, right? If
Yeah,
you that are the problem.
that's the question in my head.
Yeah. So so what we do is we create custom workshops, right? So we have off-the-shelf training like a lot of other training companies, but we really believe the best training is going through an assessment and interview process and creating custom workshops and boot camps that teach software craftsmanship, language fluency, and thinking in agile ways. And often at the same time, we try to integrate all three of those into every course. So kind of back to what we were talking about, in a world where e-learning and piecemeal topics are the norm and not
Yeah.
completely a bad idea, I
Mm.
think we've forgotten that to really master a language or technology requires full immersion. So while our programs can be taken online, supplemented with e-learning and other resources, they tend to be longer, more in-depth, and in-person sessions where we build a complete solution, a complete product, not simple one-off labs. So.
Got it. You've actually mentioned a couple of good value points here, but what in your opinion, what would you say is the most significant value, what your business obviously brings to the table?
I think we leave in a very short time. We leave your organization, and I get comments like, "Hey, thank you. I learned more in these 4 weeks than I learned in 4 years of college."
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, or people writing me texts saying, "Hey, you changed my life. I was burned out. I was thinking about leaving, but this is a much more fun way of working, and you made development fun again." And I think those are the things, reinvigorating teams and getting them excited about building great software.
Tell me, Ed, you mentioned now obviously what you guys do. Can you possibly maybe elaborate? Let's. I don't want to like say a full case study, right? But just with the client without naming them. I don't know if that can bring me in trouble. Don't know, but without naming the client. But if you can just give an example of where you guys actually took over a group or came into a company and obviously just changed a couple of things for them and streamlined some processes.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple. First, I do want to say we work with a lot of different clients, right? So,
Yeah,
and I think it's okay to say
diverse.
some of them. So we've worked with space agencies, a multitude of state agencies, the military, all branches, banks, large and small financial insurance organizations,
Wow.
airlines, building supply, restaurants. So a broad spectrum. But a couple of great stories that I really like to tell is that every one of these organizations, they really face a common challenge, right? They can't find people who truly understand the craft of writing and delivering software. You can find people who can write code, but it's really hard to find people who can write code well. And so we worked with a Fortune 50 insurance company that needed to train a lot of college graduates, many with technical degrees, to truly program and really to turn them into professional developers. And here was our standard who could contribute to the team immediately upon being deployed, right? And so,
Right.
and as I said, many of these people with tech degrees and even computer science degrees needed this training. And so you may be asking, like, well, why do college grads, even with CS degrees, need training? And I'll give you the short answer, but maybe you and I can come back someday and talk about, you know, why college isn't quite fulfilling the bill, and it's a tough problem to solve. But the short answer is you and I, I like to say it this way. You and I may both speak English, but you don't necessarily want Ed Lance writing your novel, right? English is a tough thing. And so do you
Yeah.
want a novice writing your complex software that runs your organization, right? So even though somebody comes out with a CS degree, that's tough. So what we created wasn't just a code school,
Yeah.
it was more of a finishing school. So we taught them how to think and ask the motivation and purpose of what they were designing and how to understand how the code came together to be respectful and accountable to their team. And oh yeah, we taught them how to code too, right? In the meantime. So and we did that in a boot camp style, and I'm happy to explain that if we have time. So that's one
Yeah.
example. Or go ahead. You want to talk about the boot camp? So
Yeah. Just touch on it if you don't mind.
yeah, so it was fascinating. So
Fascinating.
imagine you're a software developer and you walk into the room and we break you into groups of three people.
Yeah.
And I tell you, we're not going to tell you how to code. You already know how to code, so we're going to let you go first. So what we're going to give you is I'm going to need two things from you in 5 minutes. Here is a handout of partial requirements. You're not going to get the whole requirements because in real life I don't as a developer. And and I need to know two things. I need to know, one, how many iterations is it going to take you to get this work done? And what are you going to have working in 20 minutes? Because an iteration in this classroom is 20 minutes, and you need
Yeah.
to design, test first, code, and refactor every 20 minutes. And the students first look at us like, okay, how do I hurt you? Where did you
Yeah.
park your car? What mean thing can I do to you? But what's exciting
Because
is, yeah,
that's a
it's
serious
really
task to complete what you just put out there, man.
yeah, it's really intense for a moment, right? But what's great is by the third day, they're like, bring it. Because what they've learned is by breaking the problem down into these small steps,
But
they
smaller increments or
yeah, and then they learn, oh, I better pay attention to design as I go. So then what we'll do is we'll work that 20 minutes. We'll see where they're at. We'll keep all the groups going. When we're finished, your group might come up and present, and the other teams critique you, right, based on principles that we teach them. So we're not worried about how long a variable name is or your spelling, right? We're worried about core principles of good design and is your code following the solid principles of good design and those kind of things. So we teach them those things, and then we give them a chance to refactor their code. Well, I'm sorry, then we show them our solution. Hey, here's how
yeah.
we solve the problem. And by the way, we're giving you this in a very Socratic way because we're solving the problem. We want to show you after you've wrestled with the problem, right?
Mm,
So
mm.
here's how we solved it. We use this pattern, or we use this thing to do over here, this strategy. Now that you've seen our solution, you have the option to refactor your code. And then we would let them refactor, and the same group presents again and talks us through what they learned. And then boom, here's some new requirements. Here we go again, right? We'll see you in 20
Yeah.
minutes. And it's really, and we do that for 2 weeks. Um,
My word.
and this particular company, they had us in for 2 weeks. They were a little skeptical. They were very clever. They snuck in some architects that weren't newbies into the room and didn't tell us.
Yeah.
Um, the class went fantastic, and we finished the class, and I was like, "This is great." Everybody was happy. And 3 days later, we got a call, and they said, "Hey, we have 5,000 developers who need to go through your course. Can you handle that?" And of course, we figured out a way to
Wow.
to scale. So
That's an interesting one. Then the first thing you think in your head is like, okay, well, obviously, that's quite a quantity, and I'm sure there's some travel involved when it comes to those things as well. So just for interest sake, so how with that amount of people, so how do you go about like, you know, obviously servicing them? Did you like have to? Do you guys like need to travel to them, or can it basically be, like online, or how do you guys do that?
no, we traveled to them and became real operators as a business because we gave them an all-inclusive price. And I ended up moving to the city that they were in
Oh
because it was
wow,
so overwhelming, but a great opportunity. And I
of
really
course.
cared about the quality. So then I knew a number of people, fortunately, that were good level developers, and we were able to attract them, good trainers. And
Mm,
then I put a train the trainer program together where I set in every class. I didn't sleep for a while. I sat in every class as every trainer was new, getting used to the curriculum. We had a great system for feedback on the curriculum, and I want to give the students and those instructors a lot of credibility. If you took our Java program right now, you would say, this is the best in the world. I mean, we hear that on a regular basis. And I say, yeah, you owe it to the people who gave us great feedback and we listened and tuned the course. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was a lot of logistics. We ended up, doing a lot of scheduling and
Oh, it is.
had a team of about 10 instructors that
Mm.
went in. We also kept the boot camp in, so there was traditional training over 12 weeks. We did weeks 5 and weeks 7 and 8 were boot camps. We brought 2 instructors to put in the room so people weren't waiting if they were having questions and that
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing.
like hands-on, eh? Wow.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
very,
that's awesome.
yeah.
That's truly awesome. Tell me, Ed, you mentioned earlier, you just touched on it, and we said if we have time, but I thought, yeah, it's in the back of my head the whole time. And you mentioned about the colleges, challenges over the colleges. If you don't
Yeah.
mind, just to touch on that as well.
Okay, it's a little bit of a long-winded story, but I think it's so real that I want to tell the story this way,
Please
right?
do. Please
So
do.
we had an instructor named Jared, and he
Mhm.
was a fantastic instructor. Loved this guy. He just did a great job for us all the time. And he called me up one day and he said, "Hey, I'm going to have my 5th child, and my wife says if I ever get on an airplane again, bad things might happen to me." So he had to stay home with his family, and made a choice to
Kind
do
of
that.
superstitious, but okay.
So, so,
Love
so
you too.
anyway, his wife was like, "You are staying home, right?" So he said, "But I'm going to go get my PhD." He had a master's. He's like, "I'm going to go get my PhD," and so he did. He went and got his PhD, and in the summer he would call me and say, "Hey, can I teach for you?" And I'm like, "Of course, you're amazing. You can teach for me. By the way, have you learned this new thing?"
Mm.
And he said, no, the first year. And I said, okay, no problem. You can teach the stuff that's more kind of core or older. And the second year, the same thing happened. He's like, Ed, I'm just immersed in school. I can't. And so he graduated in 2 years. He was very intense at the PhD and he got it. And then the third year, he got hired at a major university. You'd know it if I said it. And he called me that summer and said, "Hey, can I work for you again?" And I said, "Sure. Can you teach the new stuff?" And he said, "No, I'm sorry. I'm writing my curriculum for my college students. I don't have time to learn the new stuff." And so then the fourth year, he was publishing. And then the fifth year, I can't remember what it was, but it was something else like, oh, the school needs me to do this. And then
Yeah.
the sixth year, this was the aha moment for me. The sixth summer he asked to teach for us, I said, "Do you know the new stuff?" Same conversation, no. And he said,
Eating this brick wall.
"Yeah." But then he says, "I can't do it this summer because I'm writing a textbook." And I go, "Wait a minute, stop, Jared. You're 6 years in, right? Like, look at this. You're going to write a textbook that's going to take a year, and that textbook will be in college for at least 3 years. That means students are learning from technology that's 10 years old, right? And
Yeah,
that's the problem with college. It
that's the
isn't,
problem.
if we're teaching math, it doesn't change that much, right? But our
Yeah,
technology changes so
it's
fast that
evolving.
schools have a hard time. So what did the industry do? We came up with code schools, which were a good idea, but people got, in my opinion, a little more obsessed with the money than the quality, and we
Yeah.
weren't turning out the quality of developers we needed to. So I really think a corporate finishing school is the way to go. That's the one that we've seen be most successful. But anyway, so not down on colleges, but it's just a really hard problem to solve for the colleges, right?
Yeah, because I'm just thinking it's obviously it's expensive to stay up to date, right? And then, but like you said, it's growing at the speed of light from
Yeah.
a technology point of view, right? And yeah, I mean that's a interesting one to come around with. The well, just for interest sake, having said that, I mean, but just even with what you guys offer as a business, right? That is so it's not. I mean, a lot of guys got companies that they got this type of machinery, which is a standard thing that's doing really well. There's a demand for it. They've been in it for 10, 20 years and it's rocking, right? And I mean, they only focus on the election, what the result will be to know what deals are going to be greenlit, right? So whereas in your instance, you need to evolve the whole time. I'm very much involved with sales trainings and things as well. And even that is evolving, the whole time. But I mean, not nearly as what AI is evolving. So, uh, basically what I'm trying to say is, I mean, are you currently in a situation as well that you need to constantly learn as well, to keep up with it?
Oh,
Or
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I tell our whole team, the first thing you do every morning before you pick up your phone or look at your email is we pick up a book or go online or call one another. I joke and I say, look, read a book, go code something every single day. We try to build labs that are as complicated as what real code is. Or I jokingly say, start an argument, right? Call me up and disagree with me, and we'll both,
take you on.
that's fun. But along these lines, the second example I was going to give you as kind of a success story was there was a government agency that needed to train developers on a technology that was getting a little bit old, but not too bad. And they partnered with a college who reached out to us, and we went on site and in coordination with that college, delivered a 16-week program to people that were from high school to older.
Yeah.
And I think there were 16 people, 17 people that went through the program the first time and about the same the second time. And to my knowledge, all of those people were hired in a job. Now, not all of them at this government agency, but all of them within like 3 months
Oh,
to the
wow.
school's credit because they really helped them get jobs. And I thought that was going to really take off, but they were having trouble with some funding and getting grants and all of that fun stuff, right? But it
That's
was a
unfortunate.
very successful learning program, and the students were coming out really able to deliver.
Yeah, but I mean, they will not be employed at businesses if they're not on the level that's required, right? And bring something new to the table. So I mean, that's kudos. That's awesome. The Ed, I would like your opinion on if we can maybe just step back from the business a bit and just look at in a bit more in general from a owner point of view. In your opinion, like what type of mindset would you say is needed to be like, a successful founder of a company?
Yeah, so I get asked these kinds of things a lot, and the one word that comes to mind is you better be a grinder, right? So you don't get to shut it off when at 5 o'clock. You have to be very responsive to customers. I can't tell you how many times the first person that responds to a training request wins, right? I jokingly tell my team it's like having a plumbing problem. You just want it fixed, right? And
Yeah,
when people have a training need, they're like, look, give me good quality, give me a reasonable bid, and please be responsive and actually answer your phone. I get people saying all the time, like, well, that was very unmillennial of you. You actually picked up your phone. Thank you. And and go with that. So we're trying to teach our team that, answer the phone every time and respond to people. And you just have to be willing to put in the work. And I think that's where we came up with the customization is there just often is not a one size fits all.
yeah.
So, like we have 40 different Agile courses uh, because that's just what customers demanded over the years.
Look, Ed, I need to thank you for this interesting conversation that you brought to the table today. There was some insightful things you mentioned, and this was a interesting discussion regarding AI that I've never had before. So thanks for the information, and I'm sure there's a couple of guys that's making a couple of notes whilst I'm saying this. Tell me, Ed, where can the listeners, where can they get hold of you guys?
Yeah, so we do a lot of the social media stuff, but not a tremendous amount. We are great at training. We are not good at marketing. I'll just confess that publicly. But we do have a website, ntiertraining.com. So that's just NTIER, the word training.com, and a LinkedIn presence. And the easiest way is just go to the website, book a call us up, have a conversation, right? We can walk through the problem with you. And if we don't know how to help you, we probably know someone who can and would be happy to give you a referral.
Excellent. Ed, I fully understand why you and your business are so successful. All the best with the business going forward. May you guys just grow from strength to strength. Thanks for hopping on.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Take care.